Welcome everybody to CryptoSapiens. I'm excited for this special series. We're going to be talking to Sahil and Gloria about OpenRank. If you don't know about OpenRank, this is a very important episode for you. This is also very different from what you normally see from us. So I hope you really enjoy this. So without anything else, let's just get started. Sahil, Gloria, welcome.
Thank you so much, Humpty. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Gloria, how are you doing? Great to see you again.
Good to see you. Good to see everyone.
All right, so let's get started on introducing OpenRank. Sahil, do you want to kick it off?
Absolutely. I think, as you can probably tell from the name, we weren't very creative in choosing the name, so it is pretty literal, open and rank. But really, I think the heart of our belief system is that we view the web as an open web for anyone to come contribute and create value and capture value. But for us, OpenRank is a way for us to create a verifiable ranking and reputation layer for the web. Specifically, when you have open data sets, which could be open social networks, or it could be on-chain transactions, how can we help create signal from all of that open data? How can we verifiably create reputation, rankings, recommendations from all of that data? And that's kind of the heart of OpenRank, where we have built a verifiable ranking and reputation layer, a bunch of machine learning algorithms which can compute on open data sets and give you the results at the same time, prove that the compute was done correctly. So that's mechanically how OpenRank works.
Walk me through OpenRank and its view of Farcaster channels. As Farcaster channels, as far as social, decentralized social, or even Farcaster, it is new. So what is OpenRank's view of Farcaster channels?
So before we go into Farcaster channels, let's think about Farcaster as an open social network. Now, you have Farcaster, you have compare it with Twitter. Twitter is a social network where the entire data of whatever's happening on the network is mostly gated by Twitter. Twitter owns the data as well as the algorithms above the data and gates the access. And only the Twitter app or the X app now is the consumer user interface for end users, right? But for Farcaster, we have an open social network. You have all the data available via hubs. Anyone can have access to the data and build their own client. We've seen that happen. Now, one of the most interesting things that we talk about and people get polarized about is the algorithms. Hey, what do I see on the app that I'm using on Farcaster or on Twitter? And I think that's kind of the exciting space that we're trying to bring innovation at, where once you have a social network, we can consume all of the network's data. So we are ingesting the entire Farcaster social graph. Every single cast reaction that's happening, we have it in our database. Now, we want to run algorithms on top of this data to provide useful content or personalized content or relevant content for an end user, for applications which are either showing feeds or want to kind of surface some kind of leaderboards, or these are the people who are talking about this. So that's kind of where the algorithms come in. And OpenRank is providing algorithmic choice to anyone who wants to use Farcaster data and create an application, create a client, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the fundamental thing is the data layer is the open social graph of Farcaster. OpenRank is the algorithmic layer, which kind of helps you decide your own algorithm for your own client without having to worry about ingesting that data and computing on that data. OpenRank does that for you. And then you can kind of provide user experiences on top. Now, when you think about Farcaster channels, for us, Farcaster channels are a little bit like all of these subreddits that you can see on Reddit. These are their own autonomous communities. A Farcaster channel for football, a Farcaster channel for taking photos of nature, a Farcaster channel for food, a Farcaster channel for a token community. All of these are these mini social networks on top of Farcaster, which have their own community, which have their own belief system, which have their own culture. And now they need some helping hand in making sure that they can curate good content within the channel, which requires some algorithm. They need some helping hand in figuring out how do we fight spam and protect a great user experience for a channel, which also needs some sort of algorithmic layer. They also need a hand in figuring out who are the top people who contributed day to day or weekly, which again needs some holding hands, right? Of, hey, can you surface if there are 1,000 people who are creating content in your channel, how do I actually find what was the best content in the last 24 hours? Who are those people who are actually providing that best content? And all of these problems are very important to solve because right now the most limited resource we all have when we're in social networks is attention. We don't have 10 hours to go through the entire, Mountains channel or CryptoSapiens channel and think about, hey, I want to spend time on that channel. So how do we make all of this efficient as a user experience? That's kind of where we see OpenRank's role in helping Farcaster channels become very useful communities where people come in, connect with other like-minded people in that channel, and come and transact with them and share information, and make this a great experience. So that's at least how we view OpenRank's role in Farcaster channels.
This is great. That's very comprehensive. I'm going to dive deeper into something you said. You compared it to like X. You also talked about algorithms. On Farcaster, for anybody who's familiar, there are several algorithms at play that are facilitating this like fair, I guess, scoring or visibility of actors. We have the Farcaster algorithm, right? That they run their own algorithm on which Warpcast runs. Then there's other players like Moxie who provide their own scoring mechanisms for their own communities. How is OpenRank's algorithm different compared to these? And what are some of the opportunities that are enabled because of this differentiation?
So I think there are three differentiations. One is compare with Web2 social, which is basically the algorithm only optimizing for getting your attention on that page so advertisers can monetize it, right? But different social communities have different kind of purposes. They have different kind of things they actually value. That's entirely behind the whole tension of the subreddits communities with Reddit, because they have different goals. So what if you can actually shed light on the different kinds of goals of a community and reflect that with an algorithm? So that algorithm actually serves to create a feedback loop of that, taking in different kinds of signals as like trusted signals, signaling desire to basically generate a good feed and generate a good incentive structure for the users. So I think that's the first one. It's customized to basically generate different kinds of signals for the purpose of the community. Second one is compare with other Web3 projects or Web3 solutions. I think OpenRank really focuses on the reputation and the trustworthiness of the interaction. So everything is weighted recursively down the social graph. So it's super attack resilient. So if you have like army of bots upping your social post, it's not going to really move your reputation needle. So you don't actually get compensated accordingly. But if you get meaningful original content in the channel and get like really good feedback, that will tremendously up your contribution score using OpenRank. So I think that's the second differentiation. Third is OpenRank is a decentralized protocol that makes it verifiable how this is done. So you need like this trustless, permissionless verification of, okay, you're saying you're doing this, but is it really something that I can also go and verify? So that's the vision that we have for every single community. They have their rules of the mechanism, but that is also verifiable for everybody. So there's trust there. So I think that would be the 3 points I would index the most.
Yeah, and just to add to what Gloria just said, I think my mental model is like there's an ideological point of view and there's a product point of view. I think on the ideological point of view, you take a look at X, you take a look at any client on a network, like Warpcast on top of Farcaster, or you take a look at any other social app that runs its own algorithm. The algorithm's purpose is to drive the core metric of that platform. The core metric of that platform is daily active users, monthly active users, users coming back, which drives revenue, monetization, and stuff like that, right? Now, to protect that, any third party app, a social app, has to have a point of view, have an opinion on what to show and what not to show, right? And a lot of times it leads to things where people get shadow banned. It leads to people, getting, censored. It also leads to people not seeing the content that they want to see just because it doesn't. That's not the goal. The goal is how do you maximize, find a global maxima for that particular app with their algorithm, right? So that becomes, and no one can challenge that. No one can tell you why you're seeing a certain post on X, or any other app, right? So that kind of becomes difficult over time, and we feel this needs to be different, especially in this world where we have even reduction of trust in the platforms that we spend a lot of time on. How do I make sure I'm actually not a part of someone else's incentive, but someone is protecting my incentive by spending time here, right? So that's the ideological argument. And the product argument is all of these are black box algorithms that are used by these applications. And each channel, each community is different. To Gloria's point, every subreddit should surface that content which is most in line with the culture and the vibes of that subreddit, cannot be modified because an army of bots came in, should not be modified because Reddit as a platform wants to show certain ads and monetize a particular subreddit, right? Now, when you think about some of these pieces, this is where we come in, where OpenRank says, we will give you an algorithm for your channel. Let the moderators and the early reputable people or the early curators of the community decide what kind of content is best suited for this channel. And we use that as a system to give every channel their own algorithm, their own feed, right? Which means that we still want algorithm to have a point of view, but that decision is up to that community. It's not up to a platform. So OpenRank makes it easy for anyone to come and say, hey, I'm going to choose my own algorithm for the football channel, which is very different from the CryptoSapiens channel, just because the people there are different, they care about different kind of content. And I shouldn't have a global set of people with the maximum number of followers always show up on both the feeds. If they don't spend time on it, they're not a part of that community, they should not be showing up. So we're trying to build that kind of a system where each of these, like I said, each of these channels are their own mini social networks. They deserve their own space and algorithm. You cannot have that on X because it's a global, they want to try and achieve a global maxima, right? So that's how we OpenRank fits in on the product as well as on the ideological side. Now, here's another interesting thing. I can join your channel, Humpty, which is CryptoSapiens, and suddenly I am becoming an opinion leader or thought leader in your channel, and I have a disagreement with you on what kind of content is coming up or should show up. I can really fork and create, another parallel channel and bring people and have my own algorithm. And if people have choice now to either be in your channel or my channel, without having too much of a friction to move their social graph, etc. And I think that comes with the power of open social networks like Farcaster, open algorithmic choices that OpenRank provides. And I think that's kind of the future that we see, where there won't be hopefully global points of view or global network effects, but there'll be plurality. There'll be as many, variations of algorithms and clients there may be, and we're just building the right infrastructure for that.
Yeah, I'm going to dive into something that's going to take us a little bit more into like channels. And this really has to do with the user, or should I say, community members creating value on Farcaster and to their own specific communities and channels. What are some of the things that you would recommend to someone coming into Farcaster today when they join a community channel? What are some of the things they should be looking out for? How can they create value? Because I think to go back a little bit, Glory was talking a little bit about this, where it isn't just about a bot army liking your content and that's enough to like boost you in their algorithm. There's a lot more to it. So what are some things that new members on Farcaster can do to start creating value and boosting their own signal, in the algorithm?
That's a great question. And actually, I strongly do believe that a lot of new users in Farcaster are not just going to come for being on Farcaster. They're going to come to be a part of a community on Farcaster. And for doing that, and that's only possible because you already have an intent and a purpose, and some cool people are there for that community. So my advice would be to join a channel and really try and understand the values and the ethos and the vibes of that particular channel, and just show up and organically engage, share your thoughts without having any kind of I want to earn some street cred, right? Just be useful in that community. Just like I'm trying to be useful in my friends community. We catch up or on a topic of, let's say, football or sports, right? And I will, if I'm sharing something valuable, I will have an acknowledgement. I will have people who'll either reply, engage with me, or recast, which is just authentic engagement, spending time because I like doing it, because I have a point of view on some of the topics in that channel. And if you start doing that, even if you build smaller connections, smaller number of connections, right? You're not trying to go and amass 10,000 followers here. You're just trying to be useful. You make some good friends, and suddenly you will start getting noticed. And if early people who are curators of the channel are engaging with you, you will definitely start becoming more visible. Just like I think we're not trying to reinvent with channels. We're not reinventing human behavior. This is how people actually, behave in the off-chain or IRL world. And we're just trying to say, hey, keep doing the same. Don't just go up and show up to all events. No one will take you seriously. So don't go to all channels and say GM and no one's going to take you seriously. Be useful so that you can actually drive deeper authentic engagement. And don't worry about what's happening in other channels or globally. Just be useful. I have seen so many great examples of creators joining Farcaster, whether they're into fitness or they're into music or they're into food. Show up, share their authentic content, and get great engagement, valuable engagement, and that helps them kind of find their own tribe, their own kind of comfortable kind of footing.
It all boils down to the algorithm organically captures real human interactions, right? So if there are certain house rules, certain preferences of the content and the quality already set by the moderators or the owners of the channel, and some initial active users, their engagement choices will reflect their standard of the quality of the content and the how interesting, how original the content is. So really is about go and have some thoughts, but like really kind of condense it into some really cool original contribution content in the channel, and then people, like-minded people, will appreciate that. That's it.
Personally, just to add my own 2 cents here, I've always thought that when people are able to start on Farcaster in a given channel without having to go and just explore channels, that's when adoption will really begin. And I think one of the things that I've seen Cura, an OpenRank product, do very well is experimenting with the at least ideation of what these apps could look like. There's a mini app that popped up earlier. And so we're going to get into Cura right now. And you can kind of walk us through everything that's happening with Cura in terms of it helping channel owners with moderation to begin with, but also some of the more complex developments that are happening there. So let's start with generally with introducing Cura as a moderator bot, and then we can start talking about its progression into what it's going to become pretty soon, or maybe already has become.
Let's start with the problem, really, that we see people face and the problem that we want to solve. Now, there's a lot of community moderators and curators on Farcaster, they're running channels. Now, building a community is hard. Bootstrapping a community is harder. Then you have to fight spam. Then you have to maintain the right cultures and behaviors in your channel. Then you have to make sure that people are getting recognized if they're doing good stuff for the channel. And this is a rinse and a repeat loop. It's really, it's really one of the toughest jobs, really, to manage community. It's underboarding. So Abdi, really hats off for spearheading that for your channel. But imagine hundreds, if not, over time, thousands of these channel curators. I call them community entrepreneurs, who are really trying to bring people together for a shared mission and purpose. It's very tough to solve all of these problems. And this is what we are taking a stab at with Cura. We see that there's a certain community that wants to be successful, that wants to grow, that has a shared purpose. They want the right kind of values and content. They want a organic kind of recognition and reward system. They want some way to monetize all the effort and the time they're putting in over time, right? And how do you make life easy for them? And I think the first thing that we want to make sure is that we can help take away a lot of their daily burdens. Who are the right people who should be a part of the channel? How do you solve that when suddenly you start getting hundreds or thousands of people wanting to be a part of it? Whether for the right reasons or wrong, doesn't matter. How do you differentiate between the signal and the noise, right? Do you have certain criteria that you can automate? These criteria could be on-chain. These criteria could be on Farcaster. Some kind of programmable ways to assess who are the reputable people who should come into the channel. So the problem starts there, right? How do we help you do that with Cura? Then the other thing comes in is you suddenly have people creating content, but now how do you surface what kind of content is good? This is where Cura, which is built on top of OpenRank, starts to create a reputation system of sorts, specific for that channel. It's not something which is transferable from one channel to another. It is really from ground up created for that channel. It takes into account what are the actions, what are the ethos that the moderators and the early adopters of a channel are valuing in the channel, and automatically starts to create reputation scores for channel users, which helps create scores and some kind of a relevance for content as well. Now, what do we do with it is we can now help channel moderators surface what is the high quality content in your channel on a day-to-day basis. So it kind of gives you the algorithmic feeds, but you are curating the algorithm without knowing that you are. And that's kind of the powerful piece that we want to bring in, which means that you are serving the best content from your channel on a platter without having to do much, without having to go and manually sift through. Just automate that with the power of OpenRank. And then what that also gives you is you can now start surfacing. These are the best content creators in my channel. This is a leaderboard, and it can change day to day. You'll also see more new people coming up and showing up, and suddenly you can call them out and say, hey, this is a new person in the channel, and they're suddenly top of the leaderboard. I want to recognize them. I want to give them a tip, and maybe other communities want to recognize them as well, right? So now you suddenly have almost a way to run this entire community, taking away a lot of the things which took so much time and effort for a few people. What if we could automate that over time, right? And even better, you can add an economic layer where you can start giving NFTs, you can start dropping tokens or distributing any tokens on a periodic basis, and then you have a thriving community which now is self-governing, is autonomous, is not controlled by the algorithmic overlords. It's controlled by the entire channel, right? And I think that is the vision we do believe can now take off with all the technical Legos that we have with an open social graph, with on-chain transactions and open social graphs colliding with frames on Farcaster agents, which are saying, "Hey, CuraBot, can you go tell me what was the top content last week?" And if you see the 5 posts, you can go and tip, "Hey, CuraBot, can you go and distribute rewards to the top people on the leaderboard?" And then all of this happening in your feed, not having to cross many hoops. So that's kind of how we think about Cura, not from like, hey, how can we just solve one small feature, but really take a step back. What is the larger, how does an operating system look like for a community, for a channel, which wants to be on chain, which wants to be open, which wants to have a community wallet, sees a lot of coordination both on social and economic front happen freely without any centralized third-party gatekeepers. And when we think about that as our mission, that's what Cura is working towards.
I think one of the things we've talked about here is the leaderboard a little abstractly. As deep as you went into it, I think it's still a little abstract. And so I'm going to ask you to help me understand here, how is the leaderboard comprised? Like what is working behind the scenes? I know because I'm using it. So maybe I'm going to lead you a little bit here. What are channel points? How do those work? And how does that play a role in the leaderboard?
So we basically give every channel a leaderboard. A leaderboard, how does it work? We start with the moderators and we create some sort of a ranking for all users based on the engagement that they've received in their channel based on their content. So let's say every user in a channel has some reputation score. Now, you come and see the leaderboard today. All the casts that happen on a day-to-day basis in your channel, based on the engagement that these casts receive, where we factor in the reputation scores of all the people, we start giving daily OpenRank scores to users in the channel. And then these daily OpenRank scores accrue in a weekly leaderboard. So when you look at a weekly leaderboard, let's say Gloria's on top, it would mean that Gloria actually created content which got a lot of highly ranked people or reputable people in the channel to engage with it. And that's why Gloria's up top, which means that a lot of people are recognizing Gloria's contribution in the channel, and she got a lot of OpenRank scores. Every day, we give out a finite number of OpenRank scores across the channel members who are receiving quality engagement. Every week, we reset the leaderboard, which means that for 7 days, we keep on distributing OpenRank scores based on engagement received. You get a weekly leaderboard, and then we reset the leaderboard every week, just to give everyone a clean slate. But we also have a lifetime leaderboard where over time you can track who has been creating a lot of value in your channel. Because of that value, they've gotten a lot of OpenRank scores, and you can see them in the lifetime leaderboard. So that's kind of a summary, long and short of how the leaderboard works. But of course, we put everything that I just said into documentation. Channel owners, users can see how the leaderboard work for their own channel. And again, each channel will have their own leaderboard. So Humpty, if you are not active in a channel and you start spamming a channel and you're really very active and at top of a leaderboard in your existing channel, let's say CryptoSapiens, but you come to my channel, which is football, with your own followers and with your own army of bots to try and get OpenRank scores in my channel, you won't get them. And that's kind of the beauty of it.
So the short of it sounds like if you are new to Farcaster, maybe new to a community channel, your goal should be to understand what it is that community is talking about and engage with those topics or talking points. Be consistent so that people recognize who you are, so that people recognize you as someone who isn't just being spammy or there to, farm for points or potentially tokens. They're there to align themselves with the mission and values of that community and then become a valuable member themselves. And as that happens, they're not only do their channel points go up in that channel, but also through that engagement, hopefully of other reputable members in the graph, their own reputation score is going up. I like that. It seems easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to borrow exactly what you said.
You articulate really well.
Yeah.
I'm a good listener.
You hit the nail. Yeah.
Great. All right. So we're going to tease something here now. As we're reaching the end of this first episode, we're talking about channels, leaderboards, and points. Let's talk about channel tokens, because this is something that just launched. How do these three things play into channel tokens? Let's not get too deep into that, because that's what we're really going to dive into in the next episode. But let's broadly talk about that.
It's a very exciting experiment, and I think this is going to be pioneering. This is how communities should function eventually. But here's the fundamental place to start is you have a set of reputable people that you can bootstrap a community with. Now, one way to bootstrap a community is you distribute any tokens to them, any existing tokens, and say, hey, I want to recognize you. But now we're trying to build this community for several years and decades, and you want this to be a real big thing. So you say, we have a lot of work to do. Let's launch a token for our own community, for our own channel. And here are the people based on the leaderboard that I want to just bootstrap these tokens with. I can distribute some portion of these tokens to these people. I keep some of the tokens to distribute to community members who are actually adding value week on week for the next few years. So you're actually now using incentives for people who are driving the culture of your channel, which is a little different than typically we just create tokens and we just figure out how to like use those tokens. But now we're saying, hey, we know these people are actually going to be adding value, so let's reward and recognize them. So that's kind of where this your own channel token comes into play with Cura. And another thing that we have to value is that you also want an open market to have access to these tokens. So you can decide if you want to launch a portion of those tokens directly for people to buy, trade, do whatever, right? So I think that's kind of where we are trying to figure out how you balance tokens as a social and economic coordination layer for a channel. And channels can launch tokens, use the leaderboard as a way to decide who to distribute tokens to, and keep a portion for the open for anyone to come and trade. So that's how we're seeing channel tokens as a very exciting new coordination tool, which also helps create monetization for the channel. So guess what? In the last 24 hours, the CryptoSapiens community wallet already earned close to $2,000 or $1,500, because when you launched the token, it was a portion of it was half of it was trading on Uniswap V3 pool, and whoever was trading the token, that fee is coming directly into the community channel wallet, and that's great. Over time, you could ask big brands or anyone who wants to do some economic activity with your channel. Say your channel is actually showcasing top creators, and you have Twitch or any other, let's say, creator-focused platform saying, hey, I want to come to your channel and I want to talk about, or reward some of the people who can talk about my products. They can buy your channel tokens and pay to the community wallet, and you can pin their content. So there are all of these interesting economic models that can play out for communities, which we did not have access to because third-party gatekeeping happened on centralized social networks, where the only economic engine was controlled and managed and really earned by these players. But now you can open this up with tokens. So I think that's something we're really excited about. I don't know if Gloria wants to add anything.
It really comes down to tokens are a really good mechanism for Web3 communities in general, because people want to be able to kind of like articulate their belief in the prosperity of a community into like the anticipation of how this token could do. And also, people need to be rewarded for the desired behaviors they have in the community. So the Cura enabled channel tokens is really trying to start its initiation from the people who are already contributing to the channel. So that's the basis for actually having the token. So that's basically captured with leaderboard. The last 60 days of contribution you have basically determines how much you actually get as an initial airdrop, and then ongoing with your day-to-day contribution, you get basically a fraction of that contribution reward. Basically, that creates a positive feedback loop for the channel to go as people contribute more, and then the token will also accrue more value, have more vehicles of utility also for the channel. So, yeah, that's basically what I think about it.
As I'm hearing you talk about channel tokens, this came to my mind. For a long time, the points meta was, it was going wild in crypto, right? I mean, it's familiar. For anybody who's in Web 2, we know about points. So the points meta in crypto was going wild. And the thing that happened was that there was this moment of realization for most people that all they were doing was accumulating points and nothing else. There wasn't anything of real value that was coming afterwards. So I think of channel tokens, and maybe in a very small way, unless at some future it scales outside of channels, as on-chain fungible points. We've now taken this point system and converted it almost immediately into something that has monetary value, right? Some financial value. So you can reward people in a way that is a lot more tangible beyond just holding some virtual points. I think that's really cool. Also, I want to hammer down something that you said, Sahil, and that is sustainability. The way that you create these tokenomics on Farcaster through channel tokens, it's much more sustainable than anything I've seen before it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm personally very excited about, Cura and its own kind of evolution, but also channel tokens and its potential applications across all of Farcaster.
I cannot agree more. And I think we think about points as, these loyalty mechanisms, right? Which is true. But you suddenly 100x the potential of what can be done with them when it goes from a private database to an open on-chain unit of account or reputation or ownership. That's it. And then suddenly you don't even have to plan everything centralized. Hey, this point for that. Let people, you'll see other channels try to use your channel tokens as a proxy for giving value to your users, which is composability, right? So I think we're just opening this kind of innovation surface by just converting these points into like tokens and see how innovation will take care of like creating this economic value, which comes to your point of sustainability. I think that is one of the biggest things that we care about is all of these experiments are great. We try and see amazing new experiments every day. But at the end of the day, we care about making something which will last, which will stick, which will create some, a sustainable economic engine for value to be created, captured, and I think that's something which has usually been difficult in crypto because everyone has very short-term mindset of playing short-term games. But I think with this, if you give ownership to people to care about the thing in the longer run, and you have the tool for that, which is the channel token in this case, then you are definitely starting at a front foot versus always being defensive of how do I make sure this thing sustains. So yeah, that's my last thought. Thank you for embracing this idea of creating on-chain communities which are sustainable, Humpty. And you're the first one. You're definitely the pioneer, and it's going to be a lot of learnings along the way. And I'm excited to what is to come next.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Gloria, for your time. And for everybody who's listening, stay tuned for episode 2.